what I used to do and what I'm seeing some people do in this journey is they keep the lid on and don't allow any more processing or feeling of emotions anymore. Because, hey, dude, I don't want to go back through that. And so what happens is now, because again, the waves are going to hit. You can't control that. No one can control that. Those waves are going to hit and slowly fill that emotional bottle back up. And even if you have a cap on it at some time, right? And I've said this a number of times too, pain that's not transformed will be transferred. At some point, you're not going to be able to keep that cap on. It's going to blow up. It's going to explode in some way in your life. It may be physically, it may be behaviorally, it may be mentally, emotionally, right? There's all kinds of ways that our emotions impact us and affect us. So my encouragement to everybody is, and to me, of course, is once you begin to create some emotional space and therefore free up some disk space or bandwidth on your emotional hard drive, your emotional RAM, allow yourself to go back through and continue the process of processing your emotions and feelings. Leaders, influencers, and entrepreneurs. I hope you all are having an amazing day today. I've got an amazing view for those of you all that are watching this on YouTube or Facebook. Got Pikes Peak in the background there. So, big lesson for today is, and for my own growth, but also in observing other leaders and entrepreneurs and people. I mean, this is a people thing, not necessarily leaders and entrepreneurs and stuff, but the whole concept of emotional bandwidth and emotional waves. So emotions, again, hit us, and I've done a number, maybe a couple episodes on this concept that, again, emotions hit us at random times for a random duration with a random intensity. So unpredictable when these waves come. They can be little teeny waves. The little waves could last 5 minutes, could last 5 hours, could last 5 days, could be intense. It could be all this stuff. Number one. Number two is we all have at least based on where my growth is at this point, an emotional bandwidth, a finite capacity to deal with and process emotions at a given time in a particular moment. And so what I want to be careful of, what you may want to be careful of, is when a wave hits and it is taking up a big chunk of processing power of your being, of your mind, and in your heart and stuff. What I have seen some people do, and including myself, is once I'm capped out at that emotional bandwidth level, right? So I'm holding a little bottle here, a kind of bottle of water. And once that bottle is filled up with emotions and feelings and stuff that you're processing, and boom, you got to put a cap on it, so to speak, just so you can function and go to work and do your job and hang out with your family and do the other stuff that you need to do. Realize that at some point, once you're able to slowly begin to process and deal with those emotions and feelings that are going on in there, whether that's you spend 5 minutes journaling, whether that's, of course, for me, praying about it is definitely a big part of dealing with my emotions and feelings as well. And then making, maybe even scheduling time to think through after you journal, think through and allow yourself to feel those particular emotions that you're going through and experiencing. And now that bottle, that emotional bottle, if you will, in yourself begins to empty, and you're starting to create some more emotional space again. What I used to do and what I'm seeing some people do in this journey is they keep the lid on and don't allow any more processing or feeling of emotions anymore. Because, hey, dude, I don't want to go back through that. And so what happens is now, because again, the waves are going to hit. You can't control that. No one can control that. Those waves are going to hit and slowly fill that emotional bottle back up. And even if you have a cap on it at some time, right? And I've said this a number of times too, pain that's not transformed will be transferred. At some point, you're not going to be able to keep that cap on. It's going to blow up. It's going to explode in some way in your life. It may be physically, it may be behaviorally, it may be mentally, emotionally, right? There's all kinds of ways that our emotions impact us and affect us. So my encouragement to everybody is, and to me, of course, is once you begin to create some emotional space and therefore free up some disk space or bandwidth on your emotional hard drive, your emotional RAM, allow yourself to go back through and continue the process of processing your emotions and feelings so that you can continue to empty out and free up that emotional bandwidth and emotional space, and with the goal and intent that at some point those waves will begin to, the frequency will slow down, the intensity will level off a little bit, the duration will become a lot less. And so, and therefore become healthier emotionally. And this is what's been shocking to me along my journey is I have been shocked at the number of different ways that my EQ impacts my performance. So again, I just did a speaking engagement recently to a number of leaders, and normally I have a bunch of anxiety and all this kind of stuff before speaking. I didn't feel any anxiety. And then here's another thing too, and I haven't shared this one yet either. When, because rarely in an audience of, even 10 or more, but, when you get into the speaking to hundreds and stuff like that, there will always be somebody in there who is not feeling you, is not digging your content, is not digging your delivery, does not like your hairdo, or mine, in my case, lack of hairdo, whatever the case may be. And in the past, I would isolate on that one negative Nancy, that one dude who was, had his lip poked out and frowned, arms crossed, and that would completely wreck my performance, my speaking, because I would stop focusing on the 99 folks that are digging the content and only pay attention to mentally and emotionally that one dude who didn't like my content, which again, directly impacted my performance. So, and in the last few speaking engagements that I've had, and there have not been, and those couple folks that have not been feeling my content, digging my vibe, whatever, it hasn't even fazed me. It hasn't even impacted me or affected me, and allowed me to be emotionally, mentally present, physically present for those people that were enjoying the content and getting some value out of it, that kind of thing. So again, in summary, I want to encourage you to be very aware of maybe your normal, natural tendency to avoid processing those emotions and feelings and making it part of your regular schedule, whether that's, again, daily, weekly, monthly, but somehow opening that emotional cap back up and beginning to reprocess any remaining emotions and feelings that are in there, because again, otherwise it will build back up and begin to re-impact negatively your performance, your thought process, your mindset, your heart, your anxiety, all that kind of stuff. So, that's something, a lesson that this is for just as much for me as it is for hopefully some of you out there. And I'd love it if you would share your comments, your thoughts, reviews, that kind of thing. Again, whatever the platform is that you're consuming this content on, I'd love to hear from you and some of the highlights, some of the points that are resonating with you as well, so that we can change the world by changing your world, by changing you.